Runway turn off light for extra visibility while taxiing. Fun fact is the lights goes off automatically when landing gear is retracted. Nose light switch has two modes, one for taxi and one for takeoff. If you select takeoff, both lights will light up, giving pilots a clearer view. Dear guests, welcome back to the channel. This is the first part of What Does This Button Do series. Let's start with the overhead panel of the left side. Rain repellent. You use this when there is moderate to heavy rain, and after about 30 seconds, the windows will be covered with spray. Do not use it on a dry window, and there is one on each side of the windshield. Wipers with dual speed. Go fast or go home, I mean slow. When you decide to call the ground crew, pressing and holding this button will activate the cockpit call lights in blue on the external power panel in the nose landing gear bay. There will be an external horn. When you release the button, the cockpit call light will still be on until the ground crew reset it on the external power panel. These two buttons is to call either the forward or aft cabin crew. Two steady ping lights will come on and a captain call message appears on the AIP and a green light comes on. Cabin crew will hear a high-low chime. This is a guarded switch, so always ask confirmation from the other pilot when you press it. Two ping lights will flash on all area call panels. Emergency call messages shows up on all AIPs. A high-low chime is repeated 3 times. And the on and call light comes on. Question: what are the indications when you get an emergency call from the cabin to the cockpit? Do comment below if you know the answer. This button is an optional item, and what it does is that it delays the cabin drop down mask at 14,000 feet and drop down instead at 16,000 feet. Mask man on. In auto mode, the passenger's mask doors open automatically when the cabin altitude exceeds 14,000 feet or 16,000 feet if this bad boy is pressed. And when you press this button, the mask just drops. This screw supply push button controls the solenoid valves and supplies low pressure oxygen to the mask. The CVR and DFDR operate on auto when we pilots have to manually start it by selecting to on. The flight data recorder can store up to 25 hours of data, and after engine start, the on light goes off and recorders normally operate. If you press the Cvr Erase button for 2 seconds when the aircraft is on the ground and park brake on, it erases the full Cvr recording. Test button over here, normally done 5 minutes after the aircraft powers up and parking brake is set to on. GPWS. If you switch this terrain push button to off, you won't get a terrain awareness display, but it does not affect the basic GPWS mode 1 to 5. You will get a fault ECAM message if it is off. Switching off the system push button will inhibit mode 1 to 5. Do watch my video on eGPWS. What is interesting is if ILS-1 fails, only GPWS mode 5 is lost. Mode 1 to 4 is still working. GS mode push button, mode 5 is inhibited. Flat mode push button, mode 4, which is too low flaps, will be inhibited. You select this landing flap 3 push button if you are landing in flaps 3 in order to avoid nuisance warnings. Emergency generator test push button. We normally do not touch this. If the engineers were to press this, the emergency generator with the help of the blue electric pump will connect to AC and DC essential buses. Switching off the generator 1 line push button will open the contactor, and AC bus 1 channel is now supplied from generator 2. If the smoke light comes on, it means smoke is detected in the avionics ventilation duct. Do watch my video on A320 ventilation system. Fault light comes on red if emergency generator is not providing juice and AC bus 1 and AC bus 2 is not powered. Press this to extend the turbine, and emergency generator coupling happens 3 seconds after red supplies the emergency generator. Question: when does the red automatically extend? Do comment below if you know the answer. If you want to initiate evacuation, press this. Evacuation light flashes red, horn sounds. In the cabin, evac lights flash at forward and aft attendant panels and evacuation tone sounds. And if you don't want the cockpit horn, press this. Depending on your airline policy, you can either select Captain and Purser or Captain only to initiate the evacuation. ELAC stands for Elevator and Aileron Computer, and sometimes you require to reset it by selecting it on and then off. Of course, do it by referencing the ECAM actions or the Quick Reference Handbook, the QRH. SEC is Spoiler and Elevator Computer, and FAC is the Flight Augmentation Computer that controls normal roll, rudder trim, rudder travel limit, and alternate yaw. For more information, do check out my video on Airbus loss. ADIRS on battery light comes on if one ADIRU is supplied by aircraft batteries. You can switch off either the IR or the ADR part without touching the rotary selector. If IR is faulty, the attitude and heading can be recovered by selecting attitude mode. The navigation data will not be available, so the heading must be entered through the MCDU and has to be reset frequently, about every 10 minutes. Let's move on to the middle part of the overhead panel. When strobe lights is switched on, the lights flashes in white. If it is in auto, then the light comes on automatically when the main landing gear is not compressed. Beacon light, there is two. One at the top and one at the bottom. It flashes in red. Wing lights, one on each side. During the night, pilots can switch it on to have a look at the leading edge of the wing and engine air intake to see if there is any ice secretion. Nav and Logo Lights, well, self-explanatory. Two systems. You switch it on for the lights at the tail section and the red and green light on the wing to light up. Red for the port side and green for the starboard side. Runway turn off light for extra visibility while taxiing. Fun fact is the lights goes off automatically when landing gear is retracted. Nose light switch has two modes, one for taxi and one for takeoff. If you select takeoff, both lights will light up, giving pilots a clearer view. The landing lights are flushed with the airplane, and when you switch it on, it extends out, giving out a slight profile drag. Therefore, retract the lights when you are not using it. Question: is there a speed limit when the landing lights extend? What do you think? APU master switch. Switch it on and the ECB performs a power up test. Air intake flap open and fuel isolation valve open. Remember that if you switch off the master switch, the APU is still running 60 to 120 seconds if you are using the APU bleed air. 60 to 120 seconds is for the APU to cool down after a hard day at work, and at 7% rotation, the air inlet flap closes. The start switch is to, well, start the APU, and there is a whole sequence to it. To refresh your memory, do check out my video on APU. Fault light comes on for a variety of reasons. The list is long and elaborate. More details on the APU video I have discussed previously. Seatbelt sign on and off, and no smoking sign here. Auto position means the signs will be on in the cabin when either the landing gear is extended or flaps slats are extended, which is position 1, 2, 3 or full. Emergency exit light, exit signs and proximity marking system comes on. If it is at the arm position, the emergency lights will come on if normal electrical power system fails, DC shed essential bus fails, or AC bus 1 fails. Now let us move on to anti-ice. Wing anti-ice. Only one switch, so it controls both sides. If pneumatic supply is available, then the control valves will open. Fault light comes on if the valve is in the wrong position or if there is low pressure. Do note that sometimes the amber fault light comes on briefly as the valves transit. Same goes to the engine anti-ice, the valve will open when bleed air is available. Probe window heat push button is normally on auto mode, which will heat up the probes and window in flight or on the ground provided one engine is running. On the ground, only the TAT probes are not heated. Before I continue, if you want to see more of these videos, do comment below. Cabin pressurization buttons. If it is in auto mode, one of the two systems controls the outflow valve. If you switch mode cell push button to man for at least 10 seconds and returning it to auto, the other system will then be selected. The manual vert speed control toggle switch is how you control the valves. Landing elevation knob is normally in auto, so if you need to change it, select this knob and adjust accordingly from -2000 to +14,000 feet. Use the ECAM information for more accurate adjustment. Over here is the ditching guarded push button. When you switch it on, it closes the outflow valve, emergency ram air inlet, avionics ventilation inlet and extract valves, and also pack control valves. Question: when does the outflow valve do not close automatically? Do comment below if you know the answer.